Trying to be somebody I'm not, but it's not what I want. Tell me there's another way. All of the lights are chased and now fading. All the cheap thrills were only time wasted. Tell me why society's plan should define who I am. Tell me there's a higher way. All of my best friends are sick of pretending. We want the truth. We want it. We want it. So much is missing. So give us the real thing. I know it's you. Na 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 na. Na 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 na. I don't want a stereotype to define who I am. You never knew me anyway. I'm over trying to chase the next high, cause the high never lasts. Tell me there's another way. All of the lights are chasing now fading. Dylan was right, the times they are changing. Tell me why society's plan should define who I am. Surely there's a higher way. All of my best friends are sick of pretending. We want the truth. We want it. We want it. So much is missing. So give us the real thing. I know it's you. Na 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 na. Na 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 na. All of my best friends are sick of pretending. We want the truth. So much is missing. So give us the real thing. I know it's you.
Hey Kensington, I'm Andrea Gibbs. You may know me as director of our internship program, probably the greatest job on staff, but most people know me as the best cookie maker in the history of Kensington. And you know what goes great with cookies? The Bible. Seriously, pour yourself a glass of USDA certified organic unsweetened DHA omega-3 plant-based almond milk. Grab a cookie and cozy up to the best book in the history of time. Old Testament, New Testament, 66 books, dozens of authors, the beginning of times and the ends of times, all within one book. The Bible can seem intimidating, but don't worry, we've got you covered. Starting next week, we're launching a course called Bible Basics to help you understand the overall flow of the Bible in a safe community. You know how sometimes the Bible doesn't seem to make sense and can be overwhelming? Well, we'll step out of the details of the Bible and take a look at its big picture story to help give you context and confidence to jump back in. There are opportunities to join Bible Basics in person or virtually over the course of several weeks. To sign up or get more information, simply go to kensingtonchurch.org/courses. And to work off these cookies, our friends from Hope Water Project have presented us with an exciting challenge: Every Mile Counts. Since we can't physically get to Kenya this year or participate in the Hope Water Project marathon events, we're moving on a virtual journey, 1 mile at a time, to bring clean water to the Pokot tribe in Kenya. Over the past 13 years, over 100 wells have been installed. With each one, villages have grown, lives have been saved, communities have been formed, and thousands of people have heard the gospel for the first time. We have witnessed firsthand the amazing impact clean water can have, but there's still so much more to do. With Every Mile Counts, every $15 donated or raised moves us 1 mile closer to our destination. Whether you're a runner, a cyclist, a small group, or a family, this challenge really is for everyone. Please join us in helping our friends across the globe. Friends old and new, it's been a pleasure welcoming you to the second week of our Toolbox series. And a special hello to those checking us out for the first time. If you're new, we'd love to chat with you human to human. Text hello to 248-781-2771. You can also stay connected 24/7 at kensingtonchurch.org, on the Kensington Church app, and on our social media channels. All right, let's jump into week 2 of our Toolbox series and see what God has for us today.
Good morning, everyone. My name's Tracy. I'm the discipleship director here at the Clinton Township campus, and it's my pleasure to welcome you, especially everybody that I can see out there right now and all of you that are viewing online. Well, Andrea was talking about Bible basics, and that is a passion of hers. She even wrote the curriculum for our Bible basics course, and we have one here at the Clinton Township starting tomorrow night, and it's just 5 weeks, and it's super impactful. And let me tell you, my own self, my journey really started with the Bible because I didn't believe it was the Word of God. I thought it was just written by a bunch of people, and it was designed to take away all my fun, a bunch of rules and all that stuff. So for me, I wanted to know, where did it come from? How did it come together? How could it be the Word of God? And that's what you're going to dig into. It changed my life, my trajectory, and brought me to the place of believing that it's all true and that Jesus is real. But just to open up your mind to it and to explore it. And it's only 5 weeks, so it's here in person at the Clinton Township campus. You can register online. All of our courses and groups, you've been hearing about them over the past couple weeks, especially in the Toolbox series, is all about getting you connected. Outside of what you're hearing on Sunday, what else can you do to grow in your faith and learn and strengthen what you're feeling and going through, so that you're not going through it alone? And we offer these courses like FPU, which is starting today after this service right here in the building, Bible Basics, Alpha course you heard a testimony about last week. We've got men's groups, women's groups, mixed groups, singles groups, so many groups. It can be confusing. And so we designed a place for you to go and ask questions about these today at 12:30, right after the service. It's called Find Your Fit. And if you go to the groups page, kensingtonchurch.org/groups, just click on the link right there. It'll jump you into a virtual meeting where some people on my discipleship team that I'm a part of will be there to answer questions. So super duper easy. You can even do it on your phone while you're traveling, if you don't have time to stay and do that here or get home in time. And then I also want you to know McRest is still happening. How many of you, by show of hands, do you know what McRest is? Quite a few of you. So for 12 years now, our campus has hosted McRest, and I'm going to try and get this right, Macomb County Rotating Emergency Shelter Team. Not too bad, right? Okay, but it's easier to say McRest. We've been hosting the women and children here for 12 years. We provide a place to sleep, showers, meals, everything. Food, amazing food. But it's COVID, and we can't do that this year. So they are staying in a hotel. But we still need you. We still need you to support this program, because we're going to provide them breakfast, lunch, and dinner for all of them, 60 men, women, and children that are staying at this hotel, and we can't do it alone. So we want to donate money for gas cards. We want to get groups of people to make meals and assemble lunches. There's all kinds of ways to join. So if you walk out of here after the service, straight out back on the back wall is a big white board and all kinds of information and donations to pick up. You can participate that way. And we really want to continue to make this our move-out network example here in our community, is helping everyone who's homeless in this community right here. So McRest needs you, and I hope you'll go out and check out more. And of course, online. You can find information online. Well, right now, you're about to hear a really incredible song. Personally, one of my favorites. When I listen to a worship song, I don't really care about singing. I want to think about what the words are saying about Jesus. I want to think about and remind myself with those words how I feel about him and what his character is. And so this song is called Have It All. You can have it all. And it is amazing. And Aaron and the team have a super awesome version. Every time I listen to it, it just really touches my heart. And I hope it does for you too. Enjoy.
Can have it all, Lord. Every part of my world. God, take this life and breathe on this heart that is now yours. Yes, you can have have it all, Lord. Every part of my world. God, take this life and breathe on this heart that is now yours. And know the joy I found surrendering my crowns at the feet of the King who surrendered everything. And know the peace that comes, yeah, when I'm broken and undone by your unfailing grace. I can lift my voice and say, you can have it all. Every part of my world. Take this life.
Take this life and breathe
This heart.
this heart.
We'll sing it again. You can have it all.
You can have it all.
Every part of my
Part of my
this heart now yours. There is no greater call than giving you my all. I lay it all down. I lay it all down there. No higher name above. There is no greater call than giving you. heart that is now yours.
You can have it all. You can have every part of my world, God. You can have my heart. These words really are a reflection of what it means to be a follower of Jesus. Last week, we kicked off our series called Toolbox with an invitation to follow Jesus, to say, you know what, I'm going to give my life to you. My life is living for you. And it comes back to the posture of those words of that song, that you can have it all, God. And I would love to pray with you today as we dive into the message. God, we just thank you so much just for who you are, God, and that you give us this opportunity to follow you and to be in a relationship with you, God. And I pray that each one of us, our hearts would be in a place, a posture of our heart would be to lean into that, to follow you, to say, God, you can have it all. Here is my life. I'm following you, Jesus. We love you so much, God, in your name. Amen. Well, good morning, Kensington. Good morning. It's great to be with you guys today, and welcome to everyone who is joining us online. I do want to take a moment right now. We are going to receive the offering, and so if you are new or newer to Kensington, I want you to know that this moment is not designed for you. It's for those of us that call Kensington home. And there's different ways you can give. If you came prepared to give in person, you can do that on your way out. We're going to have some buckets at the doors when you exit the auditorium. Otherwise, you can go online to our website, to our app, or you can even text the word Kensington to 77977. And we want to say thank you so much for just your faithful giving and for being on mission with us. So I have a question for you guys today. Who has ever bought furniture from IKEA? Yeah? Okay. So I love IKEA, okay? Like, I love it. I've bought many, many different items from there past years, forever and ever. And I really believe that if you placed me in an IKEA, I can easily find my way throughout the place. I could use all the shortcuts. You could send me on a scavenger hunt. I would be the first one finished, and I'd find every single item, okay? Like, I know my IKEAs. I love them. Now, my husband, however, has kind of like a hate-love relationship with IKEA. Like, he loves the prices. He loves the design. There's some innovative stuff, right, for small spaces. He loves the Swedish meatballs. I mean, who doesn't, okay? But he he loathes the fact that you have to build the furniture yourself. Anyone else like my husband? Oh, man, okay. Now, if you've never built IKEA furniture, let's just say that the instructions that they give you are kind of minimal, and they're in Swedish. So if you don't know the language, you're not going to have it, but they're really simple. And the problem is that usually it's really hard to follow. So I have an example here for us today. This is the Malm bed, which I know I've bought at least once in my life. And I think that bed comes in like 3 different boxes, okay? And that's all you get. Like, that is it. You're supposed to figure out how to make the bed from that one instruction. And so when building IKEA furniture, you have to be aware because it kind of tends to end in a disaster, okay? It can be very challenging, to say the least. You want to choose wisely who you build with, okay? It can get a little tense. You know, I'm not speaking from personal experience with my husband or anything, but it can be a little disastrous there. But it can also end in disaster, as in like failure of what you're trying to build. And so I found some IKEA fails, and I wanted to share them here with you. So here's the first one. And what I love about this is that it took 2 people, and they still built that, okay? Like, 2 people came out with that result. So, and then we have another one here. That is the same chair. Like, look closely. Because at first I was like, no. I'm like, oh, no. Oh, I see what they did there, okay? So, yep, it can be difficult, okay, guys? And then we have another one, which I just bless them, right? Like, they tried, right? At least the chairs were sturdy. That one was just like, good effort, okay? And then we have one more picture here, because that is how we feel when it comes to building IKEA furniture, okay? Because you sit there and you're like, oh my gosh, what comes next? Like, how do we actually do this? you know? And I think that's kind of how life can feel at times. Not just when you're building something from IKEA, but we have these moments in life where you go, what is next? Like, what is the next step? How do I do this? Like, what's the next step after college? What do I do when my career goes sideways and I'm in a place I did not expect? How do I handle the tough seasons in my marriage, the brokenness, divorce? How do you handle that? How do you parent? Like, how do you parent? Doesn't matter if they're small or big. We're constantly going, am I doing this right? Like, what is next? What's the next step in a season of loss or grief? How do we do that? And these questions, we also wrestle in our faith. Whether you are new to following Jesus, or maybe you've been following him for a really long time, or maybe you're still exploring your faith, we have these questions that come up and you're kind of like, I don't know, what's the next step? Like, how do I actually do this? The good news is that the Bible actually can help us with that. And the New Testament is full of verses that talk about what it means to follow Jesus. Now, I'm just going to share a couple, but it is full of different verses. So the first one is in Ephesians. It's chapter 5, and it says, imitate God. Therefore, in everything you do, because you are his dear children, live a life filled with love, following the example of Christ. He loved us and offered himself as a sacrifice for us, a pleasing aroma to God. So it's imitate him, follow his example. Luke 9:23 says, if any of you wants to be my follower, you must give up your own way. Take up your cross daily and follow me. So we have to get rid of our ways. Matthew 6:33 says, seek the kingdom of God above all else. Live righteously, and he will give you everything you need. So we're supposed to seek God's kingdom? I mean, some of this kind of feels a little intense, almost overwhelming, right? Like, how do you actually do that? I don't know. To imitate Christ, it says to pick up my cross daily. Were we supposed to get a cross? I don't know. Like, is it a miniature cross? Is it a big cross? Was there a cross building class on a Sunday after church? I don't know. Did I miss that? Like, I don't know. And we're supposed to pick it up? Is it like the Christian workout routine? I mean, we have questions, right? Because we read this and it's like, well, yeah, that sounds really good, but how do I actually do that? What is the next step? Well, like many things in life, the next step usually we have to learn what the basics are first. I mean, you don't become an executive chef without first learning how to boil some water, right? You got to go back to the basics. You're not going to become a Red Wings player without first learning how to skate. And you can't be a contractor if you don't know how to use a hammer. We have to learn the basics. And I think if we want to learn some of the basics and to follow Jesus, it would be a good idea to maybe look at Jesus' life and see how he lived and what were some of the basic tools that he used, right? Because Jesus didn't just kind of wander around aimlessly like, oh gosh. He was very intentional in how he lived. He had a mission. Now, intentional living means that you have a purpose, that there's a plan, that you are deliberate, like you're aiming your life towards something. You have this plan. And I think that's the kind of life that we all really want, right? We want to live a life with meaning and purpose. Like the opening song today, the lyrics, some of it was wanting something real, right? To stop the pretending. Give me something that has truth, that's authentic, that I can put my life behind, that I can go, yes, I want to live this. So if we want to live an intentional life, and if we are a Christ follower, and we want to be intentional in that, how do we do that? Well, in order to do that, I think we need to be intentional in our relationship, in our walk with Christ. And to do that, we might need to look at some basic rhythms of how to cultivate that kind of life. Now, rhythm is defined as a strong, repeated movement or sound, right? And so some of you have rhythm, right? Like some people have rhythm. As soon as they hear music, you see it, right? Like they can feel the groove. I see it, right? Because so some Sundays I'm up here, but some Sundays I'm in the very back. As soon as the music starts playing, I can see some of you, right? Some of you could just got the shoulders going. Others of you are the full body, okay? I'm right there with you. You're like, yeah, this is my jam, okay? Others of us, we struggle, and it's okay, right? We got the people that you're like, you try, but you're like, I just can't find the beat, right? Like you're Like, I want it, but I just can't get there. And that's okay. But I thought we could have a little fun with some rhythm today. So I want everyone to join in, whether you're here or if you're on the stream watching us. We're going to have a little practice with some rhythm today. So Nick, our drummer, is going to give us a beat. Lucky for us, it's a pretty familiar one, okay? And you can stomp and clap, but we're going to at least clap along with him, okay? So Nick, take it away. So join in. See if you can stay with the beat as he plays, okay? Thank you, Nick. Great job, everyone. All right, who lost it? It's okay, yeah, right? Because sometimes in life, it's like that. We can feel the rhythm, right? Like life is good, we feel it. Other times, it gets hard, right? There's distractions in life, and we kind of have a difficult time keeping up with the rhythm. Now, I grew up in a very musical home. Music was just part of our life. My mom sang. She was a choir director at our church. Any extended family gathering with my mom's side of the family always involved like the sisters singing and cousins are playing instruments. You know, that was normal. I mean, one summer, my parents hosted a gospel music jamboree in our yard. I mean, yes, okay? So music has always been there, right? I took lessons. I started on the organ, then took many years at piano and saxophone. It's just part of my life. Now, when learning something, you have to learn the basics first. So while learning the piano, one of the basics is to obviously have the right equipment, okay? So we have some keys over there, but we're just going to leave that here. But I did bring you, this is my piano bench from home. And so obviously you want to have the right stuff to be able to learn. The next thing when it comes to learning like the piano is you need to learn some of the basics of the vocabulary and the theory. So you need to learn, you could start with a little beginner book here, and you're going to learn, you know, like what is a whole note, what is a half note. You're going to start to figure this stuff out, a sharp, a flat, treble clef, bass clef. You're going to learn all these basics of what it means to learn the music, right, and the notes, and what rhythm is, and all these basics, so that you can eventually, you know, you can start to learn this basic music and read it, and the notes, and all this fancy stuff when it gets a little more. But these are the basics, right? You got to start somewhere. So you start by learning the basics. Another key thing when it comes to learning the basics of like the piano is your technique. So how you sit, okay? So your shoulders back, how far you are away from the piano, how you place your hands. They should be curved. I'm terrible. I play flat-handed because I like to grow my fingernails. My piano teacher would yell at me like every single week, okay? And then you're learning the fingering. So you're learning how to properly play so you have the technique. So you put all these basic tools together and then you practice, right? You practice, you practice, you practice, okay? Now, one of the things, though, I had to practice with was one of these. And this is a metronome, and I hated practicing with this. A metronome will produce a regulated beat or a pulse so that you can stay in rhythm with the song. So it would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4. And I hated practicing the rhythm with one of these because I'm a feeler, okay? So I like to feel the music. I am like, oh, I'm passionate about this. So then I usually play louder and faster, right? And I'm like, oh, I don't care if it's a whole note or not. I'm just like, yeah, I'm feeling it. And then if I'm like, oh, I'm going to bring it down a little, slow it down, right? And my teacher's like, no, that's not how you play, right? Like you're nowhere near, like your rhythm is not even existing. So I would have to practice with a metronome because I needed help to stay in the rhythm of the song. And the same thing as it comes to following Jesus. He actually gives us some rhythms that can help us when it comes to following him and how we can do life with him. And he actually talks about this in a couple verses in the book of Matthew. And so we're going to read this here today. And it's out of Matthew 11. And this is what he says. He says, "Walk with me and work with me. Watch how I do it. Learn the unforced rhythms of grace. I won't lay anything heavy or ill-fitting on you. Keep company with me and you'll learn to live freely and lightly." So here, this is Jesus saying, okay, if you want to be my follower, here's how you should live your life. I'm going to give you a rhythm. I'm going to give you a pattern for you to live. And he says, in this pattern, it is a pattern and a rhythm of grace. It's of kindness, it's of his love, it's of mercy, it's joyful, it's light, it says. The end of that verse says it's light and free. It's not heavy, or it says not ill-fitting. It means it's not going to be burdensome on you. It's not going to be like this weight. You're like, oh my gosh, I have to do my life with Jesus now. He says it's light, right? Because it's his rhythms of unforced grace. And he says it's unforced. Sometimes we have this notion that when we become a Christian or a follower of Jesus, now we have a bunch of rules and regulations that we have to follow. And that somehow God is up there going, do this now. And we're like these little robots. Yes, God, right? But that's not his rhythm. He says it's unforced and it's graceful. But then there's a key word in that phrase, and it says to learn the unforced rhythms of grace. He wants to teach it to us. Many times we feel that we have to kind of get our life right, get it together. Sometimes before we'll even think of even stepping our foot into church because, whoa, you don't know my life. You don't know the mess. You don't know the brokenness. Never mind this idea that I could follow or be a Christian. Oh my gosh, how can I do that? Because there's no way. And he's saying, no, you don't have to get your life together. I want you to learn it from me. I'm going to teach you this rhythm. I'm going to teach you how to do life with me. He wants us to learn from him. And my favorite part about this translation specifically is that there's an actual rhythm as he talks about these rhythms. Because he says, walk with me, work with me, watch how I do it. Walk with me, work with me, watch how I do it. You can hear and feel the rhythm. I want you to do it with me, so join me. So walk with me, work with me, watch how I do it. Walk with me, work with me, watch how I do it. There's a rhythm that he wants to give us when it comes to following him. And these practices are just to help us follow him. And so the first one, he says, is to walk with me. So this idea, this notion to say, walk with me, means that I have made a decision, or you have made a decision to follow Jesus. That you have said, okay, God, I'm going to live my life for you. The beautiful thing about that decision is that it's right where you're at. Like I said, we don't have to get our act together and figure out how to do it. He meets us where we are at. And then we walk together from that point on. Because it's not about us doing our life over here and then, we come back to church on Sunday and then we go back to life. No, he's saying, I want to walk with you. That together, daily, we are walking. We're going in the same direction. Because when we're walking with him, it means the focus of our heart is the same of what his focus is. It gives us opportunity to share and to talk. We understand more about what he thinks, how he thinks about us, and what his heart is for other people. We get a greater understanding of him, but also an awareness of who we are and the sin in our own life. But not out of guilt or shame, but out of a desire to become more and more like him. Because we're walking with him. In Colossians 2, 6 and 7, it says, and now, just as you accepted Christ Jesus as your Lord, you must continue to follow him. Let your roots go down into him and let your lives be built on him. Then your faith will grow strong in the truth you were taught and you will overflow with thankfulness. He says to continue to follow him, to build our life upon him. So this idea that there's movement, right? It's a following. We're walking with him. It's not like, well, I decided to follow Jesus and now we're at like a stop sign and that's it. He's saying, no. This is something that we are going to do together. There's a walking. We are together. And as we walk together, you're going to learn about me. And I'm going to show you who you are in me and the purposes that I have for you. He says, walk with me. And then he says, work with me. And work with me simply means opportunities to serve, to love other people. He invites us to partner with him. As messy and as human as we are, he says, I am inviting you and I'm equipping you to share my love with other people. We get to work alongside God. He's saying, I've equipped you, I've given you gifts and talents and abilities so that you can be the hands and feet of Jesus to other people, that the way you live out love is serving people. And he's like, we get to do that together. In 1 Corinthians 3:9, it says, for we are co-workers in God's service. You are God's field, God's building. We get to be a co-worker with God. He invites us into that and says, come, let's do this together. His rhythm has a mission. There's purpose there. And we are invited to participate and partner in that. So he says, walk with me and work with me. And he says, watch how I do it. Comes back to that word that he wants us to learn his rhythm, that we would watch him, because when we watch him, we can learn. It's not up to us. We don't have to figure this out. He's saying, just watch me. Because when we watch him, when we take a look at the life of Jesus, we see that he was very intentional. We see how he interacted with other people, the conversations that he had, how he would talk to people, how he would meet their needs right where they were at. But not only that, but we also see how he took time away, how he was intentional to go spend time with the Father, to pray. And we see how he was, in everything that he did, it was to glorify God. So we see these examples of how we could live our life because we watch him. And he's showing us. In 1 John 2:6, it says, those who say they live in God should live their lives as Jesus did. So if we really want to live our life for him, we got to watch him and see how he lived so that we can live that way. Now, the thing is, these are just practices, these rhythms. They're not some sort of religious box that we check off and go, okay, I guess I got that done. These rhythms are to help nurture your relationship with God. But it's not about what we're doing. It's about who we are and who we are becoming in him. So these practices are really good, but let's be honest. How do we actually do that on a day-to-day basis? That sounds really great, but what is the how-to, the next step for each one of us? Well, like with anything, it comes back to the basics. The basics of learning what this is. And there's 3 basic tools that really can help us when it comes to following Jesus. And the first one is prayer. Prayer is one of our basic tools when it comes to following him, because prayer is having a conversation. It's communication. And if you are married in this room, you understand that communicating with your spouse is important, right? That's an important thing. And if following Jesus is a relationship, that means it is an important part of your relationship with him, to communicate, to share your heart, to share the desires, share the excitement of the joys and the passions that you have, but to share the brokenness, the hurt, the pain, the doubt with him, because it's a relationship. And to listen to his heart for you and for others in your life. We get to thank him and praise him because that's a communication in prayer. The second basic tool is God's word. It's reading the Bible. The reading the Bible is important because that is how we can watch him. That's how we learn about him, right? It will teach you his character. If you want to know who he is and learn about how he is grace, he is mercy, he's forgiveness, he is joy, that he's a faithful God, we learn that when we read about that. It teaches us about his character. It also nourishes our soul. It renews our mind and it equips us. Reading the Bible is a basic tool. And the third basic tool is community. For us to grow together, you and I, we need other people in our life to support us, to encourage us, to pray with us, to be there, to walk us through moments of our life. And we need to be able to be that to other people, because we're not meant to do this life alone. These are basic tools that are so important when it comes to following Jesus. Now, one of the best ways I have remembered this for so many years is by this: a 3-legged stool. Each leg represents one of the basic tools. So we have prayer, God's word, and the back one can be community. And when we have all three legs down, it's sturdy, right? Like I can sit on it, right? Cool, awesome. I can like put stuff on it. I could even build. Like I could probably do like a game of Jenga on this because it's sturdy. There's a foundation. It's not going anywhere, right? So when we have all three legs down and we're practicing the basic tools in our life, it creates a foundation in our walk with Christ. But, I mean, let's be honest, life happens, right? I mean, 2020 has been one chaotic year, right? So maybe it's been hard to connect because we have social distancing. How do we actually do that? So community has been hard. So maybe it's just not there. That leg's up now. Well, I could probably still sit on this, right? I mean, I'm kind of have to help myself, but I could balance it, right? Would I want to place something on there? It would kind of depend on what it is, right? I don't know if I'd want to build Jenga, but I could probably build something because it's kind of there, but it's just a little, it's not as sturdy. But what if we take another leg off? And now all we have is our prayer leg down because reading the Bible, I get it. Sometimes it's hard. Like, where do you start, right? Is it Bible bingo? You just flip through and go, okay, and Psalms it is today. What do I read here? Or maybe you read it and you go, I don't understand. So you kind of just been like, I guess it's just not that important. So now you only have one leg down. And, well, let's be honest. I mean, I'm not about to sit on this stool now, right? Like, nope, unless you want to see me fall over today. And there's no way I'm going to put something on it. And I can't build on it anymore because it's not stable. It's literally just a wobbly, one-legged stool. And there's no way. There's no foundation to this. This is not safe. But when we put all three legs down, it creates a foundation in our life. It helps us build and have something sturdy when it comes to our walk with God. And that verse in Colossians that I read, it talks about how we continue to follow him and we build our life upon him. Well, we have to have something to build on. And these tools are so important. Now, the good news is you don't have to go, well, how do I figure that out? Because it can be, I get it, it can be overwhelming at times. And so there are so many resources I want to let you know. There's reading plans out there and all different things. And seriously, talk to someone on staff. We'd love to talk with you about some of that. But we have some amazing resources here at Kensington that you can utilize. One of them is our groups. All of our groups are kicking off this week. And that's a great place to find community. And that will help strengthen your relationship with God. Bible Basics, men's, women's, small groups, you got it. You can go to our website or you can stop by the hub after service and find out how you can jump into a group. But we also, from time to time, will have events that will help also be here for you. And this week we're having an event called the Faith Family Event. And it's a Zoom event, and it's for families. Because we get it. Right? It can be hard to juggle it all. We got our jobs, and some of those are looking different these days, and just normal family life in school. And a lot of us are doing remote school with our kids. And it's by the end of the day, you're kind of like, I just want to go to bed, right? This idea, how do I bring faith into this, feels almost overwhelming at times. And so this event is to help bring some practical tips into that. This one is specifically for families with like birth through 5th grade age kids. And it's going to be led by some of our Kensington staff. And it starts at 9 o'clock, so hopefully the kids are in bed. And we're going to be sharing just, laughing together, talking about those repeated failures that we have as parents, but also celebrating the wins. But it's also going to be time to share some practical tools of how to bring Jesus into your home and into your family. So we'd love for you to be a part of that. You can register by going to the website. Because it's great that there are these extra resources to come alongside. But here's the important thing. Whether you are new to following Jesus or you've been following for a long time, this is the foundation. We don't get to a point where 6 months, a year, 5 years, 10 years down the road of following Jesus and you just go, well, I've already done that, so what is next? What's the new thing? Because there isn't. We don't move on from this. We build upon this. We add to it. We don't throw the basics out. It's just like when I was learning the piano, right? I eventually built on these basic skills, right? I began as a beginner and I kept practicing and I kept adding more and more and more. And eventually I was able to play music that looked like this. Because the basics don't change. All those basics that I learned in a beginner book are still here in this piece of music. Because the notes didn't change. A sharp is still a sharp. Treble clef doesn't become the bass clef. The basics are key. And it's the same thing now. As I'm older, I still play. Not as often as I did when I was a kid. I don't practice every single day like I did. And so sometimes when I sit down to read some sheet music like that, it can be difficult. Just the other day, I sat down to play a song, and I knew how it should sound in my head, but I could not get it, right? Like, my hands did not match, and I was getting really frustrated, right? Because I'm trying to keep up with what the actual tempo is, and it was just a mess. And so I had to kind of reel it in, and I had to go back to some of the basics. I sat there and stared at that sheet of music and just did my right hand over and over again. Figured out how to do the fingering. What were those notes? And then I did it with my left hand on the bass clef. And that was rough because I can't remember how to read that music. And I'm just sitting there and I'm slowly going through this over and over again. And then I had to pull out the metronome. Because I needed help finding the rhythm again. Because when you're not practicing the basic tools every day, it's easy to lose the rhythm. And it's like our life sometimes. Sometimes we get consumed with other things, and they're good things. It could be family, it could be your kids, it could be your job, your homes, your passions, the things that your hobbies. But you get consumed with that, and the basics of following Jesus just aren't as important. Or maybe it's because you got sidetracked in life and the unexpected happened. There was loss, heartbreak. You're broken. It could be the point where you are bloody and bruised in life, lying on the floor, and you feel like you can't even lift your head. Doesn't matter where we are, because the beauty of God's rhythm is that it's constant. It doesn't change. His love for you does not change just because your life has, and maybe you haven't done some of the things. You could come up with all excuses, but his rhythm for you has not changed. And he is constantly inviting us back in. He's saying, walk with me. Come work with me. Watch how I do it. I want to do this life with you. Walk with me. Come join my rhythm. Now, some of us here today are probably newer to following Jesus. Maybe today is a day to step more into the rhythm that Jesus has for your life. Maybe it's a day of discovering and saying, yes, I need to start bringing some of these basic tools into my everyday life. Because if we are to continue to follow him, that means it's more than just a one-time decision, that it becomes a part of our life. And for those of us who've maybe been following Jesus for a while now, maybe even a really long time, today may be a day to evaluate some of those basic tools. How are you doing? Are you still pursuing Jesus passionately with everything inside of you? Are you still making sure that you get that time with God every day, because it is a basic, it is the foundation of your life? Is this where you find yourself on your knees in his word? Because if you don't have it, you're not going to make it. Because we cannot pour out what we do not have inside of us. So if we really want to be people that serve and work with him, if we want to give our life to other people, whether it be in conversations, being in the hands and feet of Jesus, serving other people, we have to be filled up. We can't do it on our own. It cannot be us. We have to spend time with him. He has to be the one that fills us up in order for us to pour that out. We don't move on from the basics. We build on them. So how are you doing? Because it all comes back to the heart. Our heart connecting to his heart. And saying, God, you can have it all. And making a choice to lean in to his unforced rhythms of grace. Will you pray with me? God, I just pray that for each one of us, that truly the posture of our heart right now would be to say, you can have it all, God. You can have my heart. You can have my world. You can have it all. And that I just want to build that foundation with you, God. I just want to follow you. I want to live in the rhythms that you have for me, God. That I could experience your grace and your mercy and your forgiveness and your love, and that I would learn what it truly means to live lightly and freely. And I would pursue you passionately because I am depending on you, Jesus. In your name, amen.
Love with no reservation. You're not looking for perfection. And there's no need in me pretending. I give you everything. I give you everything. And you deserve my full attention. And nothing less but my devotion. Oh, speak to me and I will listen. I'll give you everything. I'll give you everything. Oh, 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 oh. You can have my heart. You can have my heart. Oh, you can have my heart. You can have my heart. Yeah.
The God of my emotions, free me from my selfish motives. Oh, search me till there's nothing hidden. I'll give you everything. I'll give you everything. Whoa, 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 whoa. You can have my heart. Yes, you can.
Have my heart.
Oh, 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 oh. You can have my heart. You can have my heart. Oh, oh, you can have my heart. Every piece, God. Have my heart. Oh, you can have my heart. Yes, you can. Have my heart.
My heart is yours forever. My heart is yours forever. Yeah. My heart is yours forever. My heart is yours forever. Yeah. My heart is yours forever. You want my heart.
If you want my heart, you got it. You got
You can have my heart. You can have my heart. Yeah. You can have my heart. You can have my heart. Yeah.
Just feel that as we're singing this and really just tuning into what Shauna was saying about starting with the basics, and it all goes back to the heart. I think there's something to setting ourselves in a posture of saying, God, I surrender every part of me. God, I don't just surrender my heart, I surrender my life. I surrender my dreams, I surrender my plans, I surrender my will, everything that I thought was gonna go my way, God. I place it in your hands. And so as we sing this, I just want to invite you, if that's your heart's prayer, if you would just stand and put yourself in a posture of saying, God, if you want my heart, you've got it. If you want my life, God, you've got it. Every part of me.
Come and consume every room. It all belongs to you. It all belongs to you. It's that simple. Come and consume. Come and consume every room. It all belongs to you. It all belongs. Come and consume.
Come and consume
Every room.
every room.
It all
belongs to you.
Yes, Lord.
It all belongs to you.
Come and consume, yeah.
Consume
Every room.
every room.
It all belongs.
belongs
We
to
say yes, Lord. Yes,
It
Lord.
all belongs
Come
to
and consume. Come and consume every room. You've got it. You've got it. You've got it. If you want my world, you've got it. You've got it. You've got it. If you want my joy, you've got it. It belongs to you anyway. If you want everything from me, God, yes. Why would I hold on to anything when you have everything? Why would I hold on to anything when you have everything? If you want my heart, you've got it. You got it. Let's sing that one more time. If you want my heart, you got it. Surrender it all to you, God. If you want my heart,
Want my heart,
you got it.
you got it.
You got it.
You got it.
If you want my heart,
Want my heart,
you got it. You got it.
I just want to be consumed with him. I want the posture of my heart to always come back to that, to say, God, you've got my heart. I give it to you. I'm not going to get it right all the time, and I'm going to mess up, and it's not going to be perfect. We don't have to worry about that because he wants to teach us. He says we can learn his rhythms. We just have to have the posture of our heart that says, God, I want you. You can have all of me. You can have every bit, every part. I want to let you know that our prayer team is available, so if you'd like to speak to someone or pray with them, they're going to be out in the lobby. But I would encourage you to go throughout this week continuing to follow Jesus, that you are walking with him tomorrow and the next day and on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and you will come back on Sunday as we have part 3 of our series Toolbox, but by following Jesus, because it's a movement that we are walking in his rhythm. Saying, God, consume me and have my heart. Have a great day. We look forward to see you next week for part 3.